Hey guys, Piece 2 bringing you 9 out of 9 challenge modes, starting off with Scholomance to help you finish up your challenge mode sets before Warlords of Draenor. At the start of this, you're going to want to use some type of sprint ability to pick up these 2 risen guards, open the gate, and jump down. Hit the boss while you're in mid-air with either a taunt or some type of other ability to make sure you don't have the alkalites up. Once you get down here, you're going to want to focus all DPS onto the boss and pop full cooldowns, including Lust here. It's very important as a DPS that you do not hit the risen guards as they're being brought down. This can possibly proc your trinkets and take away a lot of damage from you, as trinkets are very big to Mist of Pandaria DPS. Starting on to the next thing, healers have a very important job in challenge modes. The spells are huge. The debuff I'm getting put on me right now by the risen guards increases the damage I take by 30% per stack, and it keeps stacking until dispelled. It's very important this comes off, otherwise your tank can possibly get one shot. As a Disc Priest, using both your Purify and Mass Dispel is what can differentiate a good priest from a great priest. And just any healer in general, dispelling is very important. The next major thing for challenge modes is cooldown usage. This is important for all 3 roles, understanding when to use both defensive, offensive, and utility cooldowns. Our Shaman pops both AG and Healing Tide there, as you can see on the healing meters on the left side of the screen. Knowing this, you have to be very careful with how you pull. Shaman cooldowns are very important in challenge modes if you have one. It can really take a lot of pressure off of your healer if the damage is getting out of control. So this next pull here I wouldn't recommend doing unless your healer and tank both have cooldowns or you have LE cooldowns. You can pull this slow if you want to. There's not really any rush to do this because all the other pulls you have to do big. This is just for efficiency for getting our carries done. As a tank, it's very important you understand how to use cooldowns. Don't use them on reflex just because you're taking huge damage at some times. There are times for that, but right here, when you know you're going to be pulling more, you don't want to pop like Fort Brew, for example, right away. You want to wait till you have everything to get maximum use out of it. The major thing for this pull is keeping the debuff down as much as possible. It can really start rotting away at your group if it gets out of control. You can stagger this with both Arcane Torrent or Leg Sweep. You can also use other cooldowns such as Cap Totem. Your shamans can double cap totem if they have totemic persistence, I believe, that allows them to reset the cooldown of their 3-minute totems or below. After all of this trash dies, there's a special way you can do this next boss. There's also a little trick Death Knights can do here that really helps cut some time and helps you transition the 4th boss really fast. When you pull Jandice, you want to pull her behind the bookshelf. If you pull her back here, when she does her whirly phase, you don't have to do anything but sit still and she'll reset. She'll come back out at the current health that she left at, and it really helps avoid all of the extra damage she does in her whirly phase. In Heroic, it does little to no damage whenever you hit the wrong clone. In challenge mode, it can really put a lot of pressure onto your healer. One thing you can do once she transitions is there's ghouls to the left of where I'm standing right now. A Death Knight can MC these or control undead or whatever it's called, and the ad itself does no damage with its melee swings. However, once it starts getting the stacking debuff up, it can do hundreds of thousands of damage a second. This is very major for getting bosses down in here. It's not needed by any means, as we finish this within 13 minutes, and we have plenty of time to spare. Another major thing a Death Knight can do is they can Dark Sim Wondrous Rapidity. This can definitely increase your DPS, and if you want to go the extra mile, one of our old Death Knight tanks we used to use for carries would steal the last one instead of the first or second, and use it to clear the next room that we pull, as it's a massive AoE pull, and if done correctly and fast enough, you can use it to kill all of the trash, or at least put a huge amount of damage. This next pull is one of the first pulls in challenge modes that you're going to want to have a battle horn for. This drops off of a rare mob in Valley of the Four Winds and can come in handy for doing major pulls. This next pull you do not want to use cooldowns, if possible. It's very spiky for monks, as monks are the spikiest tanks in challenge modes. However, they do the most damage of any tanks if played properly. So for this next pull, you're going to want to stack your whole group up into one of these little cubbies that you'll see our priest move into in a second after he puts a feather down for me. As a monk, you can put Transcendence down back here, run to the middle of the room here, and Battle Horn. After your Battle Horn goes off, just teleport back to your Transcendence and everything will come to you. Make sure these mobs are not facing your group, or they will one-shot them if all the casts go off. It's very important to not use cooldowns, I cannot stress that enough. The next pull after this does tremendous damage, and you want to have everything possible to get it down as fast as possible. You can face these mobs away from the group completely, and it's a lot easier for your melee to get in. As a melee, it's almost safer to stay out of the group if your damage is high enough. One major thing our Ellie Shaman does on trash pulls like this is uses his Ascendance to get the mobs down. At some points it is better to use Ascendance for Lava Beam, as his damage is tremendous here. Starting up on Rattlegore, there's a few things to keep in mind. As a tank, once you get to about 9 or 10 stacks, it's pretty safe to start kiting, as he can possibly one-shot you. Even through Stagger, which takes off 20% of the damage, he hits me tremendously hard at some points. Always keep Bone Shield up too. As a tank, if you're comfortable, prior to 5 stacks, you cannot run Bone Shield, and if he hits you, it'll just be a massive Vengeance gain. Also, as a monk tank, running Diffuse Magic, there's going to be fire on the ground that you can soak. I should have soaked the first pool, but there wasn't any near me, and I didn't feel like wasting roll just to get over there. Sitting in the fire will give you roughly 90 to 100k of Vengeance, possibly even more depending on how hard the boss is hitting you and how many stacks he's at. As you can see, it's very spiky, and it's very important you gauge how much damage you can take in. The cool things about monks on this fight is that you have the most avoidance of any tank once you get rolling, especially at this item level, as other tanks can't get near as much dodge and parry as you can. Once you start getting your evasion up, you can start sitting in more stacks due to his stacks will reset, and if your RNG is good, you can possibly sit there for when he's sitting at 10 stacks and he just won't reset them, and you'll just get massive Vengeance, as the way Vengeance works is it gives you a percent of the unmitigated damage rather than how much you take in, which is very important. Right here you can see I diffuse and my damage just skyrockets up as I start hitting the boss now. It's very important you abuse Vengeance as much as possible in challenge modes as a tank, and I will be pointing out all of the spots you can do this in. This next pull is where you're going to want to have as many cooldowns up as possible, and it's very important you rotate them in the proper way. A Monk and Disc Priest have the best synergy with cooldowns, as they can stagger off the most amount of damage between any tank and healer mix. To start this pull off, you're going to want to make sure your Priest is at full mana, or any healer you have is at full mana. Get this first ad that's marked with a skull, down to about 50% health, or possibly even lower if you're not going to rot it down with dots. Once this ad's at 50%, you can go pull the whole room with the Battle Horn again. Make sure you don't do any damage to these mobs until your tank has everything grouped up. Sometimes Battle Horn doesn't reach the back 2 mobs, which I taunt. Get everything backed up and get it all grouped, and pop cooldowns as soon as everything starts colliding on you. Do not stay in this mob unless you do have at least 1 or 2 cooldowns up. Preferably 2. Our Disc Priest kind of had a late pain suppression there, which could have caused a wipe if I got RNG'd badly, but it was fine. And for those wondering about the 50% ad at the start, the Carvers have a debuff on them, and it gets up to 99 stacks, and every stack increases their attack speed by 20% and their damage taken by 20%. So if you can get 1 dead, it'll give everything 2 stacks, and then it's a multiplicative stacking from there. So once you get that 1 stack rolling, it really helps. Your tank also gets near capped Vengeance there. If not, they do capped Vengeance, as they have about 20 or 25 mobs on them, just whacking away at them. This next boss is very simple. Once she begins, you want to pre-pot and everything, but don't use potions. As she starts, as you're going to invis after this, unless you're an engineer or a mage. There's several different ways you can do this. With a Death Knight, if you have the ad that you can control undead, you can just kind of let that sit there and rot her for a while and get like 10 to 15 stacks on her, and once she transitions, the dot alone will be enough to kill her. If you have any type of absorption in your group while you're doing that strategy, make sure you keep the pet shielded, as the boss can jump on the pet and kill it. You can either hold cooldowns here, or if you have Lust up again, you can pop Lust if you're confident in your group, and you can 1-phase her. If she goes into her second phase, which she will with this group, you have to kite the ad around and make sure it doesn't hit you if it's fixating on you. As a tank, you can sit there and phase tank it for free Vengeance. As a DPS or a healer, I'd recommend running, as it can really lay into you. It's very important after this phase you do not kill her until she jumps on somebody as well. If you kill her prior to her jumping on somebody, it will keep you in combat, and you'd have to clear the whole next room. Moving on from this, as there's not really much else to explain for the rest of this instance, it's pretty straightforward and easy. After this boss dies, use an Invis potion, and you just run directly across the room, open the gate, and go down and do the last boss. As you get to the last boss, there's not really much else. Once you get to this point, you basically have a free gold if you have the remaining time. And make sure you all stack up on the last boss. When he puts somebody into the Harsh Lesson, he will start summoning ads. He'll take 50% reduced damage while he's channeling his ad summon. Make sure you kill the ads or they will blow up and possibly wipe the group. Another thing is the spells there, keeping Immolate off of your tank and also off of the DPS members when your tank gets brought in. Your tank will get brought in first every time. So just make sure you keep hard heals in the group until your tank comes out. Once your tank comes back out, it should be fine to just DPS again if you're a Disc Priest. Otherwise just keep the group alive and keep Immolate dispelled. The rest of the fight's very simple. And for the remainder of this video, I will be playing music. Hope you guys enjoyed, and just keep watching for more to come.
I can see it in your face, you're all over the place. Can you stand up straight for me? Yeah, getting back on track.